Today's voices need to be more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Ganguzza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm Ganguzza, along with my lovely co-host, Gabby.
Hey, hey.
And today we have a very special guest here with us, Christi Bowen, voice talent extraordinaire. Thanks, Christi, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Christi, we are so excited that you are here with us today on our podcast because you, I think, are so well branded out there in the industry. And I think you really are a great example of really, a wonderful VO boss. So I think I'd like to open it up with the question is, tell us a little bit about yourself and your market in the VO industry.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. Sometimes, we kind of work in isolation and we don't realize how well maybe we're perceived by others. We hope we are and we have friends, but, sometimes you just don't know that you have a certain particular standing or following or appreciation from people in the industry. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I started, like a lot of people, was introduced to the VO world through radio in college. We were not a normal college radio station because we were a 100,000 watt commercial FM that sold commercial time. So, and I thought it would be cool to be a DJ. I hated that. I so much love instead. Well, I loved working on the spots because I was also the assistant production director. So we would, write and voice and produce the spots. And it was so much more fun. And I liked doing that a lot more than doing the DJ thing. So even though radio was my introduction, I was never a DJ kind of thing. I mean, I was, but that wasn't what I liked about it. So then I transferred that into adding the video to it, because that's what I actually went to college for, was video production. And the radio thing kind of happened. And so I kind of got out of doing full-time voice work, but I blended it with the video production I was doing because we would shoot local commercials and then I would voice the local spots as we edited them. Kind of fell away from that as I got into some bigger things within video. Was a producer for 12 years with a company in Nashville where I'm based now. And so that was kind of a different thing for me, but I hired a lot of voice actors and I also cast a ton of voice actors to do projects and worked with an audio producer whose job really was to audition and cast them. But, as the producer of the projects, I had my say, I had my picks and listened to thousands of auditions every year. And it was just a lot of fun. So I was kind of on both sides. I understood both sides of the process. And then as the contract I was working on ended, it's kind of like, I think I want to get back into this voice work thing. This is way more fun than adding all the video and all the production time and everything it takes. Let me just see if this is going to work for me. Started taking classes again and just fell into it. And I signed up with one of the major pay-to-plays and I got my the third audition I ever did, I booked.
Wow,
and it kind of never stopped from there. And I just kept getting work and getting work and getting work. And I ended up full-time within maybe about a year after deciding to get back into it again. Went full-time, and now it's been over 5 years. So, but at the time, to go for the boss thing and the whole branding and everything else, when I was working at that job, we had a graphic designer on staff who was also just very versed in marketing itself, and we had lots of discussions. He helped me create my logo and my website, and we decided to launch everything at one time. I was getting my demos done at the same time as he was developing the logo and the look of my website and my colors and branding and all this stuff, and we kind of did it all at one time. So when I opened the door, I was ready to go. I didn't really have to do it piecemeal. I was working on all of it behind the scenes at one time, and then I launched. And it made it so much easier to be a business and be in business.
And I think if I can presume this, that you had been in the business for quite some time before you actually came out with your brand. And I think that was probably instrumental in helping you or making it easier for you to brand yourself in the business because you'd already had some experience in voiceover and listening to other people and casting people. So did it make it easier for you?
It really did. Yes. I think knowing where I wanted to go and what kind of work I wanted to get and just who I was, it really just it made it a lot easier. I thought I'd tried different things within voiceover, I wanted to try to find my niche and see what I was hired for. And a lot of times early on, it was like, well, I don't know. I just want the work, whatever it is. When you first start out, you're just like, if somebody will pay me, I'll take whatever. But, as I was researching clients and reaching out to people and trying to let them know about my services, certain people kept coming to me and certain types of
Yes.
businesses kept coming to me. And, my voice kind of was tagged by certain people as certain things. And so I kept pursuing those types of work because it kept getting me work and it kept generating more and more. So yeah, the brand of course, everything evolves, but it does, it kind of cemented itself. At least I understood that I was going down the right path because people kept hiring me to do those things. So I thought, well, I must be doing something right. So.
It's really interesting because, Christi, I mean, you and I share a lot of commonalities in our start in the business, radio, and then,
Yeah.
being on the other side of the performance end first. And I've always been a big supporter of talent taking that step to be on the other side of the microphone, to have at least try their hand in casting and production, because I feel like it strengthens your overall confidence, knowledge of the industry, really cements a lot of the business practices that many voice actors aren't familiar with. Now, do you agree? Did that kind of do the same thing for you?
I definitely agree. And another thing it helps you with is when you're interfacing with a client, you can say to them, there's certain things I'll write or questions I'll ask. And sometimes my clients have come back to me, you sound like you know what you're doing, or I'll ask, or I'll ask a question about what visuals, or I'll say something about, or are you planning, do you want me to break this up because are you planning to insert a different shot here, here, and here? And you could tell they're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's exactly what we were going to do. And because I get the production process and I know how to edit video and I can visually see it in my mind, it helps me tell a better story.
Oh, yes.
Because I know where those quote picture changes are. I know what I would put there. I know how I would produce it. So therefore I know how I'd want it to be directed or to be done. So yeah, it does help. And, understanding even just if you're not going to become a producer or whatever, or, edit stuff on your own, actually maybe even trying to edit something on your own, taking a whole bunch of your still photographs and finding a, program within whatever, project, whatever computer system you have. There are a lot of free ones or, super cheap ones out there. Try to edit a video together and find out how difficult it really can be sometimes.
Great idea.
Because it gives you a new appreciation for telling the story using your words and matching the picture that maybe your clients are having to deal with as well. And it kind of broadens your horizons for understanding what your clients are going to have to go through. Therefore, you can deliver a better product to them.
Scriptwriting also. It does
Yes,
wonders
exactly.
for helping
Oh, yeah.
actors to see the other side of that storyboard.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it really does. When you have to, trim the fat, as it were, or make sure you have all the right words and information in there within a certain amount of time, especially if it's for commercials.
Sure.
I mean, sometimes one or two words can make a huge difference in a spot. And, they've been hard fought over. I mean, I've been in creative meetings before where people are like, no, don't say it that way. No, we can't say that. No, we have to use this word. No, we can't use that word. And it's very, and just for 30 seconds, maybe 10 seconds worth of copy for a 30-second spot. And people are battling it out over getting their word in there. I mean, it can be very, very enlightening on how the project, behind the scenes works before we even get those words on a page. I mean, it's really fascinating.
I love that you ladies have brought that up because I think it's so critical for talent today to really get that exposure and to understand. I've always been telling my students that the closer you can get to the copywriter, in terms of what they were thinking, or the production staff in how they're telling the story, I think the closer you are to understanding and voicing for them the best that you can to elevate their brand, and the
I
closer you are
agree.
to getting the gig.
Definitely.
Yeah, Because you understand the story they're telling. When you're all on the same page about the same story you're telling, then everybody's like, oh, they get it.
Yes. And
It's
that's
like,
a
yes,
big
yes, I
thing.
do. That's why you need to hire me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So
go ahead.
go on, Gabby.
Go ahead. All right.
I love the three.
This is a really fun observation, and this is one of the I'm like really excited that Christi's with us for this, because the three of us, so in the VO boss land right now, we're three of the founding ladies across the country in having our own voiceover groups and being the catalyst for our own events. So
Yes.
Anne with VO Peeps, and I have the Charlotte Voiceover Exchange, and Christi, you have your group in Tennessee.
Yeah,
Now,
Tennessee Voiceover Exchange, yes.
exactly. So what, for you, when you started that group, Christi, what was kind of the motivation there? What was the reasoning behind it? And how has that influenced or affected your career any?
Oh gosh, that's really interesting. I actually co-founded it with my friend Chris Tom. We actually met, both living here in Nashville, but we met for the very first time in LA at VoiceOver 2012.
Of course.
Oh, wow.
That's how we all
so
meet,
it was
yeah.
really, yeah, exactly. And we met up there at Voice 2012, and he was an ambassador, so he was working a lot, but we did, have some times to chat. And then when we both came back to Nashville, we were like, okay, we've got to connect back up again, because it's so nice to meet somebody else who's pursuing this, this line of work and everything. And so we had a couple of meetings, and maybe about 9 months after we kind of kept having coffees and trying to figure out we wanted to start a group and what we wanted to do and what direction we wanted to take, we finally, had our first meeting, and that was in September of, 2013, I guess. Yeah, September 2013. And it has just blossomed since then. The word's gotten out. We, list ourselves on Meetup itself. And so that does it, a certain amount of marketing, because Meetup, anybody who goes to search for one will find us. And that's how we get a lot of people. But also there are teachers in town who send people to us, and just word of mouth. We've also got a Facebook group, and we decided, early on, that we just wanted to get a group of professionals together, or people together, to talk about voiceover, figure out what we could do here in our area, to educate people, also to support each other. It's grown and evolved. We've had a lot of different people on through Skype or Zoom or whatever, to come into, from all over the country to teach with us. And Gabby was one of our guests. We have in-town people. Sometimes, like coming up in May, we're doing one about websites, and I have a website designer friend of mine coming in. And while that's not directly VO, it is VO. He's going to talk about SEO and how to do, how to best represent yourself online. I mean, there's a lot of cheap and free ways you can do things nowadays, but maybe they're not the best way, or if you do have to use one of those, what are the best tips and tricks to doing that? So we try to vary things between. We have three kind of tracks, as we call it. We have performance, technical, and marketing. So that way we're kind of hitting all three aspects of the business, and we try to rotate those. We also have workout nights, which everybody loves. We have to be careful with that, because we have a few working pros who step up to the table and kind of lead those groups. But we have a lot of new people in the group who've never really done it. And we don't want the blind leading the blind, because that's not constructive either. Because, you can all sit there and everyone can say, oh, you sounded great. But maybe that actually really wasn't as, we don't want to puff up somebody when they need a lot more work,
I agree with you
So,
there.
yeah, so we have a lot of fun. The group has changed and evolved. It's definitely raised my credibility within, the voiceover community here in town, because, well, she runs it. She's got to know what she's doing, kind of thing, which, that's really nice. I appreciate that. And also people come to me for advice, and I've been able to, I don't do performance coaching as much, but I do a lot of business coaching. And so I've had a lot of, clients from that, and have helped people kind of with their careers and figure out maybe what niche would be best for them, or sent them to other, coaches and other resources within the voiceover business. So they're getting quality training, and they're getting it from reliable, reputable sources. That's, to me, one of the biggest things about the group, because we talk amongst ourselves about things that are working or not working within the business, and just general education, so that people can understand that there's a right way and maybe a not so right way, and sometimes a flat out wrong way to go about doing business. So it's to me, it's about education. That's one of the reasons we started it, is to educate. And also, the pros that I've met within the group, we refer things to each other all the time. I mean, we're constantly sending jobs to each other. We have, jobs board that we have within our group. It's only for paid members and working pros. And so that way, they need something that I can't deliver. Well, I refer them to my friends here in town locally, if it's a local person. Local group. We've actually had production companies find us and say, hey, can you send us some auditions? We want people to audition for us from here in town locally, because they've got to be local, because we want them to come into our studios. Mm-hmm. So we've been able to, do that as well, which has been really rewarding, that the companies are coming to us and trusting us to do that and seeing us as a professional resource.
Great stuff. I'd like to give a shout out to the founders of Voice 2010, 2012, 2014.
Yeah,
honestly,
Jim,
because they were one of the first. Penny and James were one of the first people to really have a gathering of like-minded voiceover artists, and I think that it's really critical, as all of us know. It's critical to have that type of connection with our peers, because it is a very isolating, kind of lonely sort of job. And I think it's really important for us to be able to connect with others for all the reasons that you just said.
Yeah.
And so I'm just giving a shout out and props to James and Penny, who were probably, I think, one of the originators of one of the bigger conferences out there. And for everybody else that does that, that's one of the reasons why I started VO Peeps, is because I needed to make that connection, and for all the reasons that you were talking about, as well. So congratulations on that, and thanks for being that resource for the community.
Well, I do enjoy it. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot of work. I will tell you that. It's a lot of work, and I did take a little hiatus for a while, but then I'm back at it. So refreshed, changed my batteries.
But I have to say, I heart you so much right now. All of that, while you were saying it, I'm just going, yes,
all of this,
yes, all of this, because to me that is, first of all, it's the epitome of what a VO boss is, all of it, and the motivation behind everything that you were talking about, and that construct, and also that commitment that you have to that group, and striving to bring new ideas, new concepts, new discussions to the table. But I think for any voice actor who's kind of at that precipice in their career where they go, I need something to help me get to that next place, and I don't have that community. I don't feel like I have that group learning environment that's so critical. That's what you do. You go out and you make it. You build it.
Yeah.
You do it yourself, because that's how. And then you people are coming to you and bringing you ideas, and it's fantastic. And it starts to
really
blossom
is.
and grow and take off from there. So
it's great.
It's amazing, and I love that you're doing that in Nashville, and I hope that it takes off into other cities and does even bigger things. Who knows?
Yeah, I know.
Can't wait to see the evolution.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because we've had a large group from TiVo is what we call ourselves, from TiVo go down to VO Atlanta, because we're only 4 hours away. So they've been going down since the beginning of VO Atlanta. Started with like 4 or 5 people from our group. Some people actually met each other there, and like, oh, you're in Nashville too? Well, you got to come to our group. And the group's just grown from there. But every year the TiVo group goes down to VO Atlanta, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think we had like 15 people there this year from TiVo, which is a good amount of people, actually. We're very proud of that.
Yeah.
So, and it's been fun to have, and those people bond with each other and have a really good, strong bond with each other because of that. They, the shared experiences at the conference as well as within the group, and it just kind of helps other people realize that maybe these conferences are a way to further my career and really open me up to what I should be doing. In the industry. So it's been all of it. Conferences and the group, the Meetup Groups have been such a wonderful learning experience for me, and also helping me help others.
Well, they build a dynamic that we just don't have in voiceover otherwise. They build teams.
So true.
And without teams,
you're right.
there's not that that sense of a work environment that I think most people are used to.
And I think there are people who might try to evaluate a conference based on, let's say, educational offerings only. And to be honest with you, it's really so much more than just the I mean, of course we want educational offerings, but there's that other dynamic of that whole connection, like we were just discussing it, which is so important to the creative, I believe, the creative side of you and as an artist. And so you need to have that refreshed. You need to have that inspired and motivated. I really believe that when we get together with one another, that will happen, and that happens.
It really does. There was one moment at VO Atlanta recently where I was standing talking to 3 friends, and I stopped and I looked at all of them and I went, wait a minute, all my tribes are together. I have my WOVO, my FAFCON, and my TiVo Tribe all standing in front of me. I mean, all of them were there, and it was just the most amazing feeling. I was like, holy cow, and it's not just the beer.
Absolutely.
It was like they're all here, all my tribe in one place, and it was just an amazing feeling to realize that, all those different friendships and things that you've cultivated from all the different different events and things and different places and things that you can join within this business, came together there. But it happens all the time, whether you're online in Facebook groups or whatever. When you get all those people that you know at one time, it really does give you a sense of real community, even though you're sitting by yourself in your office,
Absolutely. So, Christi, I'd like to ask, what would be, let's say, a tip that you can give to our listeners on how they can be the best VO boss they can be? What would you say to them?
Oh boy, there's so many, but honestly, and I know a lot of people say this, but being authentically you at the same time as realizing that you're running a business. So while you're running your business, be authentically you while doing it. We all want to think about the performance and booking the gig and all, it's always about auditions and things. And that is obviously part of the business, but you are running a business. And I say that to, people all the time, especially within our TiVo group, is that, you have to look at this as if you're running a business. So, set your hours and approach things with a business hat on. And then, take that business hat off once you've kind of got that foundation under you so that you can go then be the creative person that you want and need to be. Or else we wouldn't be in this business if we didn't need that creative fuel. You can't keep doing the creative if you don't have a foundation to keep it, like, paying the bills and electricity and, mortgage and that kind of fun thing. You have to be the business side as well. And don't ignore the business side, just for the creative side. Really remember you're running a business and do your best to run it the best way you authentically can.
Christi, we're so thankful that you took the time to be here with us today out of your busy schedule. Loved having you, getting your insights. Tell people how they can get in touch with you, how they can, stalk you in the nicest way possible. Websites, Facebook, all that great stuff.
Certainly. Well, thank you guys for having me. This has been really a big thrill, and I feel honored for you guys asking me to be a part of this. So thank you. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm at ChristiBowen.com, and it's Christi, ChristiBowen.com. That's my website. It has my contact information on it. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, at Christi Bowen VO for both of those. So you can check me out there, and I'll be glad to help any way I can, answer any questions, and just be there for whatever you need.
Awesome.
Thanks
you
again,
so
Christi.
much.
What a wonderful example of a VO boss.
Well, thank you guys. I happy to be in your company because you guys are definitely VO bosses.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your hosts, Ann Ganguzza and Gabby Nisterko. All rights reserved. Ann Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.